The first things to know about blockchain are its main functions and some key words to guide you through the subject. There are two main functions to blockchain. The first is as a digital ledger. Now, just like a physical ledger, this simply means that it's a running list, continuous list, of all the transactions from the beginning, the first transaction, to the most recent. This list is public, decentralized. There is no overarching authority to it. Now, in order to alter the ledger, requires a verified transaction. And this brings us to the second function as a means of secure transfer. Since there is no regulating body to oversee transactions, to make a blockchain transaction, one needs to acquire typically 3 other third-party users to verify. And this brings us to what is being transacted. Now, tokens are unique digital units that represent real or imaginary things. This can mean anything from distant physical objects, land titles, ethereal currency, or anything like that.
So what is blockchain? Blockchain is a decentralized ledger, and it basically has a list of transactions that each of these transactions has a cryptographic hash at the end of it in order for the person or the actual blockchain itself, the network, to be able to tie the transactions together sequentially. And this creates a system of verification because the only way for the blockchain to continue is if cryptographic hash of the previous block matches the second block in order for it to go forward. It can never be reversed, which means that blockchain in itself is very secure because transactions are extremely difficult or impossible to modify. So each transaction is verified by a validator or a node. Basically, a transaction happens and there's 3 other computers who acknowledge that transaction has been completed and they verify it. And the transaction has gone through and can never be reversed. That is how blockchain maintains its security. And yes, the success of most blockchain now in terms of modern implementations to find a way to link it to certain legacy infrastructure, the old databases and the new technology. So one of the main aspects of blockchain, especially now in terms of consumer technology, is smart contracts, because smart contracts allow a way for you to digitally facilitate and enforce the transfer of a digital asset. So, for example, a website could have a certain sale of a certain item, right, and they allow you to pay with it for using cryptocurrency. Basically, that transaction would then be attached to your address, and the transaction itself is verified. So, that has led into this new, field of like NFTs, non-fungible tokens, in which people are using smart contracts to create one-of-one transactions and be able to sell those off because they're attached, to some other value. So yeah, it's the best, to use for e-commerce because it does not require a trusted third party and basically can allow for secure transactions with a higher, greatly reduced risk of fraud. So some of the major players, and I wanted to divide this into separate categories because blockchain is more than just cryptocurrency, as everybody's familiar with. So of course, the first is cryptocurrency, and every cryptocurrency aims to basically, in the same way, create fast transactions that are secure and do not require you to use a bank. So you get to avoid, certain fees of maybe international transfer or anything like that, and that is what most cryptocurrencies aim to do. Some of the big ones like Bitcoin, which is the OG cryptocurrency and is a store of value. But then you have Ethereum and Cardano, which are more than that. They enable smart contracts. So there's a lot more potential for them because you can develop applications based on their network. And these are some other cryptocurrencies. Some of them are popular, but not as much. And another aspect that would be using cryptocurrency, or just not cryptocurrency, blockchain itself, is e-commerce, as I said in the previous slide, because you can use a smart contract and verify the transactions. So basically now, there's another aspect of blockchain that is becoming new, is because we started as networks and transactions are starting to increase. People want to be able to increase the scalability of the blockchain as well as the transaction speed. So we have certain things like Polkadot, Lightning Network, and Cosmos, which aim at in improving the scalability, right? That would be the Lightning Network and Cosmos. And then interoperability, right? So Polkadot is basically trying to create bridges between the networks, because right now, if somebody was trying to make a transaction from the Ethereum network and bridge it over into a different network, it's very expensive and it's not as inefficient. But these projects aim to create a solution to that.
All right, so here are some statistics to give a context for the scope of the blockchain market. 60% of chief information officers across sectors are on the verge of implementing blockchain technology into their infrastructure. There's an estimated 8 to 12 billion in savings for banks who implement blockchain technology, and the global blockchain market is expected to grow to over 60 billion by 2024. So some of the advantages of blockchain. Obviously security, with principles of cryptography, consensus, decentralization, tokenization, these sort of things. They make blockchain very secure because everyone can see what's going on. It's verified, and it is easy to go back and look at previous transactions. Also transparency. This really drives value for companies, especially with the high cost of going public and creating IPOs. More companies are staying private. Due to that, this transparency drives values for those who have best behavior, because it really shows whose financials are in order and who deserves to be valued highly. There are also some challenges to blockchain. One of the big challenges is scalability and efficiency. This is the ability to handle a large amount of transactions in a short period of time. As of right now, Visa can handle about 24,000 transactions per second, while Bitcoin, for instance, can handle about 4.6. That is growing, but as of right now, they need to really enhance their scalability in order for blockchain to become generally adopted. There's also the issue of standardization and interoperability. This is the interoperability is the ability for different blockchains to interact with each other. So as of right now, certain blockchains aren't compatible with certain cryptocurrencies. So their systems aren't compatible right now. And they're also working on that, but it still would need to be more operable for it to be generally adopted. There's also the lack of understanding by the general public. Most people don't really understand how blockchains or cryptocurrencies work, and that leads to them not trusting them as much as the traditional financial institutions and markets. So there needs to be a large amount of education for the public for blockchain to become adopted.
One of the potential applications of blockchain business is messaging security. For example, companies can capitalize on the creation of a vehicular ad hoc network based on blockchain. A vehicular ad hoc network consists of groups of moving or stationary vehicles connected by a wireless network. False or inaccurate information damages the integrity of that network. Blockchain can ensure security of the ground truth of that information for vehicles, because any vehicle can access the history of the event information in the public blockchain. There's also the IBM Food Trust, which is a service provided by IBM that connects a network of growers, processors, wholesalers, distributors, manufacturers, and consumers, and in doing so increases the visibility and accountability of the food throughout that network.
Me and my group see blockchain being here to stay, with them becoming more popular as a use of digital transactions becoming more popular. More businesses are using blockchains to add value to their businesses, manage and secure it. With each piece of information being time-stamped and organized today, blockchains will simplify how we do business, allowing for more information to be processed and allowing for more companies to run more efficiently, which adds to the appeal of integrating blockchains into the business. Some businesses have already hopped on this trend of integrating blockchains. For instance, Formula One team Alfa Romeo and AskChain have integrated blockchain into the organization by managing how customers buy and sell tokens, and as well as how much revenue is being generated from these transactions. This interaction creates a good relationship between businesses and their customers by allowing them to feel a part of the business, that they are supporting. Blockchains add to the transparency of businesses by being an open ledger, allowing anyone to see the data and reduce fraud, and companies can see what errors must be fixed. Blockchains allow businesses to stay on top of trends and adjust what they need to satisfy customer needs. If you're interested in blockchain, there are plenty of YouTube videos and online courses that can help you further understand the blockchain.